Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's Go tutorial, we will be discussing about Go's primitive data types, which are Boolean, numeric, as well as text data types. So let's get started very quickly with the Boolean data type. A Boolean data type can at a time represent one of two states of being either true or being false. Let us see a print statement which prints a value as well as its type. So if I go to the editor and say fmt.print f and then I say value is equal to %v comma type is equal to %capital T and then I give a new line. Then I specify a boolean value of true and I will repeat the same statement for the false case as well, or the false value. I say false and false, and when I run this we can see that the true value has a type boolean as well as the false value also has a type boolean. The Boolean data type is very useful in logical as well as relational operations and also useful for flow control as well as looping, as we will see in some of our later videos. The next data type that we will be discussing are the numeric types, and we have a very wide variety of numeric data types in Go. Let me show you two very simple examples. Suppose I replace the true with a 42 and the false with say a 42.42. If I go ahead and run this, I see that 42 is of type int as well as 42.42 is of type float 64. So let us start our discussion with the integer types first. So for the time being, I'll comment this part of the code and we'll base our discussion only on the integer type. So what you're seeing on the screen right now, this 42 is your default signed integer type. And the special thing to note about this integer type is that it has an unspecified size, which means that the size of this default signed integer type depends on the platform on which we are running our Go program. The minimum size allowed for such an integer is 32 bits, but it can also go to 64 as well as 128 bits on certain systems. Even if we declare any integer variable in Go with the shorthand notation, this int will be the type of that variable. So if I go and replace the 42 with the n I just declared above and run this, we can see its type is the default signed integer. Now sometimes you might be looking for a specific size of an integer, and to make lives easier, Go has a wide variety of integer types to make our pick from. So here we can see the types supported by Go are int 8, int 16, int 32 as well as int 64, which is quite similar to the byte, short, int as well as long in other programming languages. Here we can also see the available range for each of these types, and the 8-bit integer ranges from -128 to 127. The 16-bit integer ranges from -32,768 to 32,767 and so on for the 32-bit as well as the 64-bit integer. The 64-bit integer would in most cases be able to handle all of your requirements, but if it does not and you have a requirement for even bigger numbers in your program, you can check out the big package which is located at this URL. The big package will allow you to make use of numbers which will overflow the range of even int 64. Further, along with the signed integer types, Go also supports certain unsigned integer types which are unsigned int 8, unsigned int 16 and unsigned int 32. Here is the size in memory as well as the range. Now one thing which you should really make note of here is that you cannot combine operands of different types in an expression in Go. So what do I mean by that? Suppose I have two variables here, var a of type int 8 and let the value be 10, and I have another variable var b of type int 16 and let the value be 11. I cannot just go ahead and declare a variable c which is the sum of a and b. If I try to run this program, it will tell me that the operation a plus b is an invalid operation because we have mismatched types int 8 and int 16. Now, how do we go about solving this problem? I'll discuss it in the video on type conversion. It's also linked in the I button above. So I'll get rid of most of this code, and the next data type we will be discussing is the floating point data type. So if I say n colon equal to 10.42 and I run this, I see that the type is float 64. So a floating point data type is a data type which can hold numbers which have a fractional part as well. Floating point numbers in Go follow the IEEE 754 standard, and we have two types of floating point numbers in Go, which are float 32 as well as float 64. So as you can also see in the example, by default, floating point numbers will be float 64 unless we declare them explicitly to be of type float 32. If I run this code, I see that n now has a type of float 32. So what are the sizes and range of floating point numbers? It's right there on your screen. Float 32 is 32 bits and 64 is 64 bits. And float 32 can range from plus minus 1.18 into 10 raised to the power minus 38 to plus minus 3.4 into 10 raised to the power 38. And if you want even more precision, you have a much larger range provided by the float 64. Before proceeding to the next data type, let me also use the literal format for declaring float variables. So I can say 10.42 is something like, let's say 3. So if I go ahead and run this, so E3 basically means a 10.42 into 10 raised to power 3, which is 1000. And it could even be a small e. Let's take a smaller exponent this time, let's say 2. We'll run this and see it works in the same manner. So all of those were Go's basic numeric types, but Go has one more very important numeric data type, and this one is called the complex data type, which means that Go provides a primitive data type for handling complex numbers. So the complex data type again comes in two sizes. The first one is complex 64 and the other one is complex 128. So let us first see complex 64, and I can initialize it with the following syntax. Suppose 1 plus 2 iota. So those of you who are familiar with complex numbers will understand that this means the real part of the complex number is 1 and the imaginary part is 2. So if we try to print the value and type of n, we see that the value is 1 plus 2 iota and the type is complex 64. Now suppose I get rid of the real part and try to print this. I see the value is 0 plus 2 iota. And what if I got rid of the imaginary part? I go ahead and run this again, and I see my complex number is 1 plus 0 iota. Both the real as well as the imaginary part can be fractions. So if I say 1.5 plus iota, I run this. Okay, I think so it should be 1 iota at least. Okay, so we see that our value is 1.5 plus 1 iota. So complex 64 makes use of two float 32s to store this complex number in memory, whereas complex 128 will make use of two float 64s to store this complex number in memory. If I run this, we see that the value is 1.15 plus 1 iota and the type is complex 128. Now, this is not the only way that you can declare complex numbers. We can also use the complex function and give it the real as well as the imaginary part. If I go ahead and run this, you can see my complex number is 1 plus 5 iota and the type is complex 128. Now, suppose I want to access the real part of this complex number here. So I say real of n, and then in the next line, I want to access the imaginary part of this complex number. So I say imag of n. I go ahead and run this piece of code, and we see that for the complex number n, the real part has a value of 1 and is of type float 64, and the imaginary part has a value of 5 and is of type float 64. What if the complex number were a complex 64 type of number? Let me go ahead and run this, and I see that both the real as well as imaginary part are of type float 32. And with that, we conclude our discussion about numeric data types in Go, and next we are going to discuss the text data types. And that is going to be it for this time, guys. All of the code that we just saw has been updated in this GitHub repository aedorado/learninggo, and the file name is types.go. So please do check it out. We will be discussing strings and rune data types in our next video, so please do stay tuned. If you found the content of this video helpful, please do hit the like button. If you find the content of my channel helpful, please click subscribe. You can also hit the bell icon to never miss any new updates. And like always, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you very soon in a brand new tutorial.